All right, let's dive right into this explainer with a really simple question. Have you ever noticed that there are certain people in your life who just seem to navigate difficulty with this incredible grace? You know what I mean? They just move through challenges entirely differently than the rest of us. And it's not because their lives are somehow easier, or they have fewer problems, or they're just, pretending everything is completely fine. No, it's actually because they know a secret about worry that most of us completely miss. So here is the massive reframe we've got to start with today. Worry is not some inevitable biological response to danger. It's really just a deeply ingrained habit. And like literally every other habit out there, it can be actively broken and replaced. Today, we're going to explore 5 historical techniques that the wisest people in history practiced. These are things you can actually do starting right now to quietly dissolve worry before it ever even takes root. To make this super actionable, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the illusion of worry, reality versus imagination, the sphere of control, purpose and the present, facing the worst case, and finally, your next small step. Let's kick things off with section 1, the illusion of worry. Worry as a mental trap. Moving right along to section 2, reality versus imagination, separating fact from fear. Listen to this. 2,000 years ago, the Roman philosopher Seneca actually wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." I mean, wow, that exact truth literally needs to be printed on every single smartphone screen today just to snap us out of our doom scrolling, right? Think about the last time you spent hours agonizing over something. How often did the thing you were so terrified of actually happen? And when it did, was it truly as catastrophic as you imagined? Modern psychology totally confirms what Seneca knew back then. The human mind is just catastrophically bad at predicting how terrible things will feel. We construct all this horror in advance, and reality almost never matches up. Since we're notoriously bad at predicting reality, people who successfully avoid worrying do something brilliant. They create a powerful mental gap by asking one incredibly grounding question the very split-second anxiety hits. Is this real, or is this just a story my mind is making up? That question alone creates this tiny little gap in your thought process. And right there, in that gap, the worry instantly loses half of its power over you.
Okay, section 3, the sphere of control, focusing your energy.
This perfectly illustrates the core of Epictetus's teachings. Look, people who avoid worry don't magically possess some superpower to control the universe. No, they just completely let go of the chaotic storm of things outside their control. They understand that fighting the economy or obsessing over other people's opinions is basically just choosing to suffer. Instead, they drop an anchor and take immediate action exclusively on what they can control. Every single time worry pops up, they ask, is this within my control? If yes, they act immediately, one small step. If no, they just release it.
Next up, section 4, purpose and the present, anchoring your mind.
You know, the Buddha actually observed that almost all of our human suffering lives either in the past, which is totally over, or in the future, which hasn't even arrived yet. Worry is literally just your mind time-traveling forward to a moment that doesn't exist. But Marcus Aurelius, he gave us the most effective anxiety treatment ever discovered in just 5 simple words. Confine yourself to the present. It's this incredibly gentle redirect to what is actually right here, this exact breath, this specific conversation. Recognizing that a mind fully rooted here cannot possibly be worrying about what might happen over there. Building right on that idea of presence, we get to purpose. Aristotle really believed in this concept of eudaimonia, basically the flourishing that comes when you have genuine purpose. Why? Because worry absolutely thrives in empty space. When your mind lacks a true project, a solid anchor, or a real commitment, anxiety just rushes right in to fill up that vacuum. So if you want to leave way less room for dread in your life, you've got to use these anchors. Have something you genuinely care about. People with true purpose don't wake up and worry less because their life is magically easier. They worry less because their attention actually has somewhere real and constructive to go. When you know what you're building and why today actually matters, you're just more fully alive, which leaves practically no room for anxiety. Which brings us to section 5, facing the worst case, premeditatio malorum. Instead of just letting your mind completely spiral out in the dark, you can actually use these 3 steps every single morning to look your worst-case scenario directly in the eye. Now, this isn't to catastrophize, right? It's to honestly ask yourself, hey, could I actually survive this? Would life still be worth living? And you know what? Almost always the answer is absolutely yes. You quickly start to realize that the fear of the loss is almost always so much worse than the loss itself. And here's the magic. Once you actually sit down with that worst-case reality, the worry just immediately loses its teeth. It's not because the bad thing magically becomes less bad, but because you finally stopped running away from it. It's like they say, you cannot be chased by something you have already faced.
Finally, Section 6. Your next small step. Theory to reality.
Listen, these towering historical figures, they did not have easy lives. I mean, Marcus Aurelius was managing a plague-ridden empire. Epictetus literally survived slavery. Seneca faced exile and death, and the Buddha sought with the absolute deepest kinds of human suffering. They practiced these habits precisely because life is hard. They knew, for a fact, that the only thing harder than facing an actual difficulty is spending your entire life worrying about it in advance. So right now, I really want to speak directly to you for a second and just ask you to reflect on this. Of these 5 habits, which one does your life most need right now? Because you don't need some massive overnight overhaul. You definitely don't need to try and master all of these at once. You just need to pick one small, real thing to change. Take a really good look at these 5 habits we've just covered. Just pick one. Pick the single habit you're going to practice for literally just 5 minutes tomorrow morning, because making that one small habit yours, even if you do it totally imperfectly, is worth more than reading 1,000 books on worry. You probably already know exactly which one it is. So I'll leave you with this. What is the very first step you're going to take tomorrow morning to finally stop letting the illusion of worry steal your present moment?